Let's look at some technical analysis within the subject of parabolic moves, codes that go hog wild, how you can read them, what to expect from them, and all that kind of fun stuff. Welcome. It is the 6th day of December 2017. My name is Derek. Everything you do within your own risk, own reward. And I like to do videos when I can talk about a particular subject line because that's what I feel is most important. Not really going over, okay, let's try to find when to buy this, sell this all the time. Rather teach pattern recognition so that when you see these patterns in future times, other different codes and such, it makes it a lot easier. Okay. I will put the weekly chart up in a little bit, but this is the daily. This uptrend line, when you look at what happened since the break, just before such at the end of November, when it was in here, it wasn't doing much. Spent a decent amount of time staying within such. But since the breakout, it has been like straight up. Talked about the interesting move in the middle of this pattern where it had this outside day, and it has continued to move to the upside. Now, whatever tool you use for target levels on the upside can be very difficult. And generally speaking, you look for significant legs higher, but also realize that when you get to an area on the way up or down that doesn't find resistance or very little such, then expect a double shot, like take another drink, if you will. And we're going to use the term of alcohol and drinking at the bar, or just drinking period, within this video. And roughly in here is where it was supposed to stop going up. But it didn't. Well, it resisted short term, but the keyword was just a bit. It rose really fast. As we can see, the green candle that happened just shortly after the move from the 18 average of lows. Last few days, just grinding its way higher, and today a big green candle higher. So basically, it's had a couple legs towards the upside, but also the last break low is barely over 5,000. Now we're at like 13,000 mid. So it's had about 120, 130% gain. And when you're breaking these trend lines like this, we're moving into parabolic. We're now in a situation in which it becomes possible, at least at much higher probability odds, to have magnificent returns. Because each time within parabolic breaks of resistance of occurrence, the next leg higher after resistance is not met becomes into another level to degrees where you could just see moves that you just cannot imagine, where Bitcoin might be 20,000 this time next week. Maybe on Christmas it's 32,500. These are all realistic situations because pre-indicators are there. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if you're ever going to have situations where things go hog wild and just crazy in these terms, then these are the situations you're going to have as a prelude to such a degree. Now let's talk about the drunk philosophy. And I'm going to put the weekly chart up. The drunk philosophy is, and I don't drink anymore, but back in the days when I did, when you start drinking, your first beer or whichever alcoholic beverage in which you choose may last you a little longer in time. Maybe your cold beer isn't so cold when you finish your first one. And as I mentioned within the first break a few times, that when the market last time came up to this point and really didn't find any resistance where it should have, that it had a double shot. And then you could almost take a look at it as in, okay, so you have another shot. It's like maybe some time goes by, but not much, rather than just taking two at one, or going double fisted is another way of looking at it. There's another little bit of a drink, and now it's just going crazy as far as the last 12, 13 weeks or so. And at this stage, if the wild party is going to continue, this is where you could result in seeing a green candle on this time frame of unbelievable proportions. A blow off top, you could say, is due at any time, but it's been due at any time for quite some time. And whether it happens around this point, 17,000, 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, 100,000, or a million, there's going to be a wild correction. And the higher it goes, the more wild the correction is. But with that being said, I've talked about the 5,000 being a key area. Is that out of the woods yet? I'm not even close to drawing on here. It's hard to see my mouse at times. There we go, right in here. It's less likely. In order for that to happen, it's going to lose well more than 50%. But when you go parabolic, ape, SHIT moves, that's just naturally going to happen. But let's just talk about a move that, say, goes to 20,000. In a situation like that, you're definitely talking, no matter what, you're always going to be talking about a 50% correction minimum is definitely in the cards. The more you go up, the more that percentage I'd be looking for in a decent correction long term. So a move to, like, say 22,000, you might go back to 9,000 even. So most certainly 5,000, not so much out of the woods, but maybe 6,000 to the 7,000, if there's going to be any around this time frame, would be real. So that's the downside potential. But it could happen at any time where you see a day where it goes up like $2,000 or $3,000 in just one day. An hour where it goes up 1,200 or something in that ballpark area. And we're under these ideal market conditions to be doing such. I guess if I draw a trend line, that's a pretty decent rate of ascent. It's almost rocket ship formation, straight up formation. So we're in wild times. Now the CME group is going to be, it looks like it's set in stone, or not in stone, but in rule book formats, as it must be, that they will be able to allow people to trade futures contracts, basically buying puts and calls, or the equivalency of betting it to go up or down to either whatever degree they want. An idea would be for, say, like 2 months, 3 months, 4 months from now, you might buy a put option, which is basically betting that it's going to go down. So I might buy a put option for 10,000. And within that time, if it goes below 10,000, say if it goes to 8,000, I would be in the profit. Now the only way they could actually have future contracts where you could take delivery of such, that means you'd be getting your Bitcoin. So in order to do so, maybe they have to buy the Bitcoin, hence the reason why this is going up. I'm not saying that is, I'm just saying there's some reason why this thing is just shooting up like no other within, of course, the last 4 weeks. And it'll be an interesting situation, but I don't think anything that can be done like from the CME group or any traditional trading system could do anything where the market could be manipulated within their structure to have the prices move in a manner like they do in the precious metals or in other ones, based on, of course, the fact that well, they're in control of buying and selling everything that they got. So that is something that I've been thinking about. Also, the fact that it's even available for people to look at. Again, we're in a time in the public consciousness in which the masses are going from not hearing about it to hearing about it, where other people who knew about it are now actually getting into it. And those that were just getting into it before are starting to do pretty well, as a lot of people in crypto space have been doing so far. And within such, it'll be interesting to see, to say the least, because We're in the stage of parabolic. Market will do what it's going to do, and I'm just going to enjoy the ride along the way. Meanwhile, Litecoin on the daily time frame having an outside day, but that's an outside day on several periods beforehand. For it made a high, that's an all-time high, and a low not seen, well, since back in here. And of course, it's back up to where it came from. Now, this is on the BITTREX exchange, so that's a larger one. So very interesting, to say the least. But you know what, BITTREX this is not a good format. Let me do a different chart. Probably Bitfinex would work better. And there's nothing to show anywhere near the outside day type of market behavior. But it's having a little bit of a correction within the 18 average of highs right now, and any type of deeper correction is definitely nothing that's going to hurt this trend. After the long sideways movements within September, October, and November, it's had a very nice run. So higher highs and higher lows. The 18 average of lows worked out to be tremendous support. So therefore, anything that holds within the 18 average of lows, to me, I think that's an interesting spot as a level of potential support. As long as the market continue to hold and stay above these key levels, like it's doing very well. It doesn't have to hold above here, but holding the 18 average and having it not decline, and if it does go sideways to start to show some momentum, at least quickly after that, would be a pattern that would look very bullish. So I will be looking for something like that within its market. But I find it interesting that 5% down or so for today. Actually, only down 3%. I've seen 5% down earlier, when Bitcoin is up about 5 million percent. No, 15%. We're not there yet, but who knows? And within its weekly time frame, its pattern is pretty bullish right now. After its after its rocket ship move higher, going from about $3 up to a little over 20-30. Remember that. Look at the X gain, like a 10x gain. After doing that, it had a nice ride for going further, just consolidating in an uptrend. And after leaving this 18 average, which just recently happened, it's now congesting and staying within its high, so holding and staying above roughly around here for not only for a while. If you see that in case, that's definitely something it needs to do to show nice more bullish setups, only because this thing can go at any time. But when it does end up having these moves up here, don't be surprised to see like fast moves to the upside, where you can see it going up to like 200, maybe 175 relatively fast. And that's like quick, because last time it went from 3 to 30. So long term, I'm talking about this going from like, well, the break low would be from like, I guess, 40 something to probably close to 1,000 and maybe even higher. That's how much these sick moves are capable of having in the crypto space. They're definitely showing no signs of this wild volatility ending anytime soon. So then, let's finish it off within Ethereum. And I'll start within the daily Bitcoin crossing. And after failed breakout, fast move to the upside, as the failed breakout doesn't hold the 18 average. And today's move is, well, it says 0.2% because it's cut off past the 7 o'clock Eastern time, which changes it. But let me just see the decline in numbers. It's about 30%, going from 390 to the 300 handle. Maybe a little under that, 20-something%. So a very big decline. Now let's take a look at this against the US dollar. And you can see a pattern of like a double top kind of formation, although it's still got a bit of work to go towards the neckline. Basically 2 U or V shapes, with the first and the second one in here, and the big support at the price level it's currently testing within. This could definitely result into further price decline, maybe somewhere down towards here. But overall, within the actual trend as it plays in, let me draw some trend lines, and it's an area you might want to consider that it could possibly still go to, but it does tell you that even if it goes down lower, any type of sell-off from this pattern I would consider to be a single leg lower is a good probability, or definitely guilty until being proven innocent when we take a look at this on a much longer term time frame. And the weekly time frame will work well. We're in a situation here where we've seen these parabolic moves happen on 2 occasions. Will the third time be a charm? It happened at the start of 2016. Again, it happened at the start of 2017, and very shortly we will hit the start of 2018. Not saying it's going to happen, but the setup is looking pretty good. And just like with the possible Litecoin breakout, you could end up having a parabolic move to the upside. Now, may I remind you that this pattern looked very similar to how it looked back in the time frame of June, July. I'm just trying to point the mouse so I can right around in here. In that it got above the 18 average of a barely rising 18 average that has had some decent amount of correcting time. This case has been longer from that comparison point. But it topped early 2016 and then went sideways for basically 1 full year. This one ended up topping in the May, June, and it still, of course, is in its sideways correctionary move. If it can hold and stay above this area for a decent amount of time, to hold the 18 average, that's a bullish situation, meaning this down move, like this is why it's guilty until proven innocent. A move that could take it to the 18 average of lows definitely wouldn't be a surprise either. But I'm going to finish this off right now. Thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.